welcome to Flying Tiger Entertainment's weekly YouTube segment. We're going to record every Friday, or upload every Friday, and sorry about the bad lighting, we're going to work on that. I'm the Director of Marketing, Walter's the...
Director of Global Operations, so I do a little bit of everything here and there.
And this week we're going to talk about Working Designs. So, who's Working Designs again?
Well, Working Designs is a company that I think made some of the most amazing game packaging, and they caught a lot of flack for their translations, but they were filled with humor that made sense to the U.S. audience that they were going for. And so I think we should celebrate really good game making, and we want to start off with their games for the TurboGrafx. Now, the reason why we chose to go with Working Designs this week is because their spiritual successor, Gaijin Works, headed up by Victor Ireland, just announced that you're going to be able to pick up physical copies of Class of Heroes 2. Now, originally there was a Kickstarter for this that didn't quite go through, and so fans like me were really, really bummed that there was not going to be a physical release of Class of Heroes 2. But now that they're going to be doing it on their own webpage at gaijinworks.com, I'm really excited about it. And so we're going to start off this week by celebrating the games they brought over to U.S. shores. So let's take a look at the TurboGrafx.
And side note, we're also doing themes for the PS3 and the Xbox, and one of our new releases that also goes up every Friday is the Hookups download pack, Gamer Pics. So if you're interested, you can check those out at the end too. We'll talk about that more. So which one do you want again?
So let's show them the hardware.
Yeah.
This is the TurboGrafx 16 with CD attachment. Now this was a cartridge-based console that had a little attachment in the back to where you can put in all kinds of things, including the TurboGrafx CD. Somewhat familiar to another console around the same time that we'll get to in a couple of minutes.
You also needed this card too, which I didn't know, so if you happen to pick one of these up secondhand, well this anyways, make sure it comes with a card, or find a card. Have fun with that.
So,
yeah.
Okay, so these are the TurboGrafx games that Working Designs released. There is one missing called Parasol Stars, which is a sequel to Bubble Bobble. Well, once we get it, we'll show that off to you later. So here's Kadash. This is an arcade style game that lets you pick one of 4 heroes, and it's pretty much a side-scrolling beat-em-up, kind of. It's an arcade game. So, and then they came in these little plastic sleeves, and inside was the game itself that you just pop into the front of the TurboGrafx. So we'll just leave that to the side there. And then after that, they worked on games like Exile and Cosmic Fantasy. Now, the CD games came in these little plastic... Actually, even the cartridge games came in these cardboard sleeves with a piece of styrofoam in them like this.
Ooh, styrofoam.
Now, the purpose of the styrofoam was to keep your CD from hitting the ground and possibly cracking the disc. And not only that, but to make it easier to get the disc out. So now they came in these little CD cases. Here's the game itself.
I also like the sticker. Not to mention the amazing sticker.
Oh, the CD-ROM 2 sticker, yeah. And this is Cosmic Fantasy, which is a Phantasy Star style RPG. And
cute. Yeah, Laura Galan, Cadet Babette. Ooh, Major Pain.
Yeah, the bummer with Cosmic Fantasy is that only the second title of the, I believe, 4-chapter series came out here. So there's 4 titles, or maybe 5, of Cosmic Fantasy, and we only got the second one here.
The rest you gotta learn how to read Japanese.
Yep, pretty much. Next up is Exile. Same thing with the cardboard sleeve. And this is the game itself, Exile. And this game is it's a top-down while you're in towns, and then it's I believe it's a side-scrolling view when you're actually playing the game.
How hard are these boxes to get if you buy this?
Yeah, pretty difficult because most people tend to lose them or throw them away. It's just like with the Sega Genesis or like the Super Nintendo games. They came in cardboard sleeves, and those things got lost or trashed. So if you find one with the case, it's pretty hard to find.
Where'd you get this one at, if you don't mind me asking? Because the box is in pretty good condition.
I don't know, somebody on eBay had a
wow.
which I was pretty shocked about.
Sweet.
Okay, so next up, Vasteel. This game is kind of like Military Madness, So if you've played that game on the Turbo graphics, it's in a similar gameplay style. Now this is where Working Designs went above and beyond the normal what normal everyday publishers did on their Turbo graphics. So pretty thick manual here. But then if you look, this game came with a map of the solar system featured in the game.
Seal of approval.
That's right. Johnny Turbo approved. So here's the map.
Oh, phones.
Yeah, phones. Alright, so let's... And this game is... the interesting thing about this game is that you actually got to play 2 story arcs. One where you're the younger brother, one where you're the older brother. And so, great game overall. And this was from Human Entertainment, who... that would be a company that Working Designs would collaborate with in later years.
I can't decide if I want to be Rude Boy, or Fast Kill. Let us know in the comments down below who I should be.
Okay, so finally, and actually Bastille came with one of these sleeves too, but this is really where Working Designs set their games apart, is the packaging. Now if you look here, it comes with a nice foil packaging on the outside. That you can actually feel that there's
embossing?
There's embossing on this, and this is like a cardstock, so, or maybe a little flimsier than the cardstock, but from here you can see that this is where they put their shiny little logo down here, where they're Working Designs Ultra Series.
Did you ever sign up for this newsletter?
No, I was unfortunately too young at the time. And so, this is the game itself, as you can see. And so that ends our talk about the TurboGrafx. Now, I mentioned before that the TurboGrafx itself was kind of like another system around the same time, where it had a main console and a CD attachment, and I'm sure all of you are expecting me to say the Jaguar CD. No, I'm kidding. I really do mean the Sega Genesis with Sega CD attachment, and most people know that there's even another piece that goes here called the 32X, and, you know, the guts of the Genesis, but then it allowed you to play on a CD.
We have the prototype thing that goes on the top, and I forgot. We'll show it to you later.
So this is the system, and you had to have you had to have a power cable for both the Genesis and Sega CD, which was kind of it was a pain. So that Sega actually released their own power strip that was about that wide with 5 plugs, so it had enough space for all those plugs, but those are pretty hard to find, unfortunately. Now, I wanted to move on to the Sega CD games, as I mentioned. Now, we've got 2 Sega CD games here that might not be what you'd expect me to talk about. They also did the Lunar series for the Sega CD, but I will get more into that once I get into the PlayStation era, and I'll show you why. So with Vey, it was a standard RPG, kind of like, I would say like another Phantasy Star. And what's really nice about their games on the Sega CD, again, there's that shiny foil packaging that really makes it stand out when you're walking by in the game store and you just see it and you're like, wow.
I like these fat boxes, by the way. I think they're way cooler.
Yeah. And then, again, as I was saying, they went above and beyond with their packaging, and in this copy includes the map of the game world.
Couldn't you get it signed away for like a pin or something too for these?
Yeah, and that's the other cool thing that they did, is you could send away for pins, and this also comes with a card for the strategy guide, and which I happen to have right there. I got it. This is a strategy guide. Now, these games weren't exactly high-run games. They weren't as popular as, let's say, Final Fantasy or Bonk. No, Bonk, they're more popular than Bonk, I think. As you can see here, pretty decent art. I mean, it's a decent book. I mean, it's not light on details either, so.
It's a good size, too.
It's a good size for, picking up and just taking a look at it.
Books.
Yeah, you're not going to be seeing too many of those anymore, unfortunately. And again, here's Potful Mail. This is an action RPG, and so this game plays, kind of like, it's a hack and slash RPG, basically. And again, here's the nice foil packaging. Now, this game also had a strategy guide, which I also have, but I'll have to bring that again for another episode. And here's the disc itself. And
These weren't variant ones, right? The next,
no, that would be the games for the Sega Saturn. A great, fantastic 2D machine that was forced to shoehorn in some 3D because of the PlayStation was living. And so, if you play 2D games on this, it is a fantastic machine. You'll find none better in this generation, and maybe even beyond. So, kind of sad that it didn't do so well, but we still got some great games out of it, especially from Working Designs. And so these are their titles right here from Working Designs. So we've got here Dragon Force, which itself is not an easy game to find, but when you do, it's definitely worth it. This game is also kind of like Advance Wars meets a fighting game. I kind of don't know how else to describe it. Well, Working Designs described it as a strategy RPG, so there you go. Again, really nice foil packaging. Let's bring this sucker out here.
Fat manual.
Really fat manual. Oh, and of course, the things I forgot to mention before were Working Designs did some really cool behind the scenes, gave you a little behind the scenes look on their stuff. So they gave you translation notes on some of their games. Actually, most of their games, I believe. So you get to see, how much of a pain a game was to program, or maybe just having trouble. I don't know, especially with games that were delayed for so long, they tend to give you a little backstory of what happened. So this is Dragon Force. This is Albert Odyssey. This is a side story to the Albert Odyssey series that debuted on the Super Nintendo. And so here's the artwork for that.
This one has the prettiest artwork, I think, on it. Like, the layout's nice. The cool little dagger, when you open it's cool. The dragon looks cool.
Yeah.
It makes you want to play it, really.
Yeah, it's a good game. Okay, now, unfortunately, I don't have the case for this, but this is where Michelle was saying they made variations on their discs. Now, anybody that knows about the Magic Knight Rare series knows it's about 3 teenagers that are... it's more or less, for common people to understand, it's kind of like Sailor Moon. But totally different story. And some people are going to flame on me on that. But this is just to describe it to people that don't quite understand it. So you have these three heroes, and they all have different features about them. One's green, one's blue, one's red. And they control different elements. And so this is one of the variants. There are 2 more. Unfortunately, I don't have them on me, so I can show you.
And the case, too, we don't have the case either. But, on a side note, if you happen to find a case for a game and no game, buy the case. Hopefully you'll find the game later.
Yeah. Yeah, the cases are not exactly easy to find, unfortunately.
Yeah.
If you happen to have a Magic Knight Rare Sega Saturn case, let me know.
Yeah.
Okay, well, anyways.
I thought it was more like Charmed, but yeah, I can see what you mean.
Yeah, well, Charmed, if it was...
You guys can discuss it in the comments below.
Yeah. Okay, so this is another... this is a game I wanted to go into a little bit, just because it's 3 awesome arcade games. Afterburner 2, Outrun, and Space Harrier. On one disc. For the Sega Saturn. Now, here's where Working Designs established their Spaz label, which was their action games label, because their Ultra series was more for strategy, action, RPG, that kind of a thing. But with this arcade version, well, they're more action-oriented games like shoot-em-ups and things like that. They went with the Spaz label. So you see that again. Spaz! Well, that's what the guy does,
And you
we'll put a video of
so that it's color-coded, too, for each game, too.
Yeah, if you look at the manual, it's color-coded for every game, so you can see everything.
So if you're lazy, it's color-coded.
That's color-coded. See? There you go.
I'm like, crap, I'm gonna die, I need the book. Okay, cool, red.
Okay, so next up is Iron Storm. Now, Iron Storm is actually a part of the Dyson Ryaku strategy game series. So if you know that series, maybe from the Xbox title that came out a few years ago, or maybe some other one. Maybe the one on Dreamcast that I believe was Japan only. It's the same series, but this one takes place during World War II and lets you choose between I believe between the Japanese and the Germans, and as well as the U.S. So you get all 3. So, again, really nice foil packaging.
Beautiful embossing.
Mm-hmm.
Really shiny inside to it. What's it called? It's just...
I think
photo paper. It looks like photo paper.
Or it's cardstock.
Yeah.
All right, and last but not least, is if you're a fan of the Shining series, Shining Force, Shining in the Darkness, not any of the new Shining stuff. Don't blame on me too bad. Shining Wisdom is an awesome game for the Sega Saturn. Now, it's more, if you played Shining Soul on the Game Boy Advance, that's an okay compare it to, but Shining Wisdom just blows it out of the water. I mean, the text, if you played Shining Force, you'll recognize the text. It's got a really... I mean, I just really love the gameplay of this game. I mean, the Shining Force in the early days just could not disappoint. And again, at the time, a lot of publishers were releasing games with just your black and white manuals, kind of like they are doing today.
Well,
but
even the back's black and white sometimes too. And
yeah,
like, what year is this?
right,
really?
exactly. And then so, Working Designs, I think, went a step above everybody else and decided to do full color manuals, which at the time was nobody did that. I mean, it just was not cost effective for those kind of companies to see the packaging is that important. And so I think that's where Working Design set themselves apart by saying that, look, the way the game looks.
This is the shiniest one, by the way, too.
Yeah, well, it's called
well,
Shining.
I know, I'm just saying. Duh. And you could win $10,000. Oh my
right,
God.
exactly.
For sending in a picture of you finishing the game? Is that what it was?
I believe that's what it was.
There's something about you finishing the game.
Yeah. Yeah, it's for you finishing the game and then sending them a picture of what it's...
Yeah, it says send a legible photograph or videotape showing the final status summary screen. A sample depicted to the left. I'm sure somebody's claimed it already. If you're the one that claimed the $10,000, let us know. We'd love to meet you. Cool.